Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 5th meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Will the staff secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Alexander. Commissioner Borowiak.
Here.
Commissioner Bridge.
Here.
Commissioner Esparza.
Here.
Commissioner Pollock-Cushing.
Here.
Commissioner Suchek.
Here.
Commissioner Stearns.
Here.
Commissioner Ponchal.
Here.
All right. And Commissioner Ponchal, will you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start ourselves off with the public comment period. We'll open up for the public comment. Will the secretary please read procedures for addressing the commission tonight?
Speakers have 3 minutes under public comment to speak on issues that are not listed on the agenda and are within the city's jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public audience here that would like to address the commission? Seeing no one, we'll close public comments. All right. Next up is the approval of minutes from the November 7th Park and Recreation Commission meeting. Are there any comments or corrections, or is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the November 7th minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. So, up on the agenda tonight, item 6.1, Youth Commissioner Member Appointment Recommendation. And I believe Christina McKee is presenting this one.
Thank you. We are currently requesting that the commissioners approve the appointment of Amre Abumarki to serve as the Parks and Recreation Youth Commissioner for the 2023 term. Amre is a sophomore at Granite Bay High School, and he's the current Youth Commissioner for the City of Roseville Library Board. He's an active member of our community and his school. He's the co-chair for the Drug-Free Youth Subcommittee and an instructor at Kumon Math and Reading Center of Granite Bay. Amre is interested in policy and environmental impacts and wants to enhance the community with his perspective by being on the Parks and Recreation Commission. We'll turn it over for comments or questions from the commission.
All right, is there anyone here that has any comments or questions?
Yeah, I was going to say that I sat on that interview panel committee, and all of the candidates were super impressive. It was a very tough decision to make. But Amre, I just stood out a little bit above the rest. So I think he's going to be a great addition to our commission here, and I'm excited to have him join us.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. We will open this item for public comment. Anyone in the public? Okay. So seeing none, we will close public comment, and we will open this item for a vote by the commissioners. Do we have a motion to approve the the Youth Commissioner Member Appointment Recommendation of Amre? Hopefully I'll get this right. Amre Abumarki?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anyone who would like to motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Since I hired him, basically. I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye. All right.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Next up, agenda item 6.2, the recognition of the Youth Commissioner, presented by Jill Geller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Jill Geller, your Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Director, and it's the moment that we've all been dreading when we say goodbye to 10B. But on behalf of the Parks and Rec Commission, the staff, the city, I just want to thank you so much for your past year of service. We want to take this opportunity to recognize you and say a few things about your service. 10B began her term in January of 22, and we've been so privileged to have her as a youth commissioner this year. She's been engaged, involved in our meetings, has attended events outside of our meetings, and she's been the type of representative that we hope for from our youth commissioner. During her term, 10B represented the Parks and Recreation Commission at the dedication of 2 new parks, North Hayden Park and Kei Sakamoto Park. She was involved in the review and approval of 2 major projects, Future PRL, the department's first strategic plan in many years, and the city's future 10-field soccer complex. She also participated in the naming process of 3 future parks and the renaming of our fitness center, or the Roseville Sports Center. 10B, we can tell that you're truly dedicated to improving and enhancing the lives of our residents and the quality of our Roseville Parks programs and services. Her involvement has provided a much-valued youth perspective to the Commission's decision-making process, and of course that makes for a more well-rounded and successful park system. Also during 10V's tenure on the Commission, the department was honored to be recognized as a finalist for the National Gold Medal. Thank you for all your support to make that happen. 10V is bright, she's well-spoken, she's driven. I have no doubt she'll be successful in her future endeavors. And so on behalf of Roseville Parks, Recreation, and Libraries, please accept our sincere thanks. And if you would come up to the podium, we have a plaque for your service as well, and we wish you all the best. I'll read the plaque and give you the opportunity to say a few words if you'd like, but it says, presented to 10B Panchal in appreciation of your dedicated service to the City of Roseville Parks and Recreation Commission 2022. Thank you, 10B.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say that I'm just so thankful that I was able to be in this commission, and I've just learned so much, and I've grown so much from like last year when I was just a 13-year-old, and I was just in freshman year, and I was like, oh my God, there's no way I could do something like this. And then I get selected, and I was like, oh my God, like it was such a big deal for me, and I've learned so much from you guys, and it's been amazing. And I just want to say that I want to talk to all of you personally before this meeting ends, and I really don't want to leave. Like, I want to be here forever. Like, I want to, even when I become an adult, I want to come back, and I want to be here. Like, this is such an amazing commission, so thank you so, so much. Yeah.
All right, we'll open up to any comments that the commissioners would like to make.
I will. Tumby, we spent actually quite a bit of time together over the course of the last year. You were really involved at the park dedications. We both judged July 4th and the tree grove, and I have to say you've matured in the last year. I mean, beyond belief. I mean, you almost look like you're the older sister now. Ongoing joke. But good luck. You're going to be amazing at anything you put that smart brain to, and just keep us posted, and we're always here,
Thank you.
Right? I'll just add to that. Please do come back. We'd love to have you up here. So good luck in your next endeavors, and we hope to see you back soon.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Any comments from the public on this? We're going to open for public comment.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know Tanvi was like a 13 years, and whenever she comes back, she tells, okay, this is the first time I'm attending this kind of meeting. So it was like a good exposure. Even we wanted to become ambassador of this park and recreation, and we like tell our friend also, this is the place you should go. Your kids should go and learn something new. What is happening in not only in Roseville, but not only in the park and recreation, but what is happening in the Roseville. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure having her on the commission. All right, we will close public comment, and this one is not a voting item, so we will move on to agenda item 6.3, Commissioner Recognition by Jill as well.
This is
I'll
a
let's
sad-
skip this one.
No. This is a very sad moment as well, but on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Commission, the City of Roseville, and the Parks, Recreation, and Library Department, it's my honor to recognize Roy Stearns for his service as a Park and Rec Commissioner. Roy began his term in July of 2015. He served 8 years on the commission. There's no doubt that he's made our department better. He's played a leadership role on many occasions, serving as the vice chair and the chair, and assisting with selection of youth commissioners in the past as well. During his term, Roy was involved in the approval process for many parks and facilities. When Roy joined the commission, Roseville had 66 parks. So he's helped our park system grow by more than 20% just during his tenure. So how many park openings has Roy been a part of? 15.
Let's count. How many?
15, yeah. And 2 more that are soon to come, which you approved the master plans for. He's worked with 3 Park and Rec directors during his tenure, Dom Casey, Dion, and me, and I'm so glad that you stayed around long enough to give me the opportunity to work with you as well. He also helped us this past year on these 2 major projects, which was our strategic master plan that'll take us years into the future, and the sports complex, which will be a huge boon for the city as well. So, on behalf of the city, all of the PRL staff, I'll let the commissioners speak for themselves. Thank you, Roy, for 8 years of outstanding service to the Parks and Recreation Commission. And we have something for you as well. This isn't a plaque that we have for Roy, but more a trip down memory lane that will just, it does say, in appreciation of your dedicated service to the City of Roseville Parks and Recreation Commission, 2015 to 2022, and some photos of several of the parks that you've been involved in.
I like that. That's
Yes.
very nice. I like that tractor. It reminds me of the very first tractor I drove a long time ago on a farm helping a friend. Just a couple of comments. A couple of thank yous. First, to you and your staff. You have always excelled beyond expectations from the top to the bottom, and that shows in the parks we have throughout this city. They are primo. And the other thing is to my fellow commissioners, those present now and those I knew during the past 8 years. I think we all worked to make this a better park department in a wonderful city. So thanks to you too. So thank you, Jill. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
All right, we will open this up for any comments from commissioners.
Yeah, I guess I can start on that. I just want to thank staff for always getting my seat next to Roy all these years. We always got a good conversations before the meeting starts, and I really enjoyed just sitting next to him and hearing his take on things. And it's definitely going to be on my resume that I sat next to Roy. The Parks and Rec Commission.
Is it also going to be on your resume that I seconded the motion on that part?
Yes, yes. I take that as a win for us.
All right, anyone else?
Yeah, Roy, pleasure working with you on the commission. It was enjoyable to get to know you. And so, yeah, sorry to see you go, but great job. And Tanvi, I didn't get a chance to speak, but we didn't speak too much. But hey, thank you. Your passion for the commission is great, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also want to say something. I was lucky enough for you to actually be there when I was getting interviewed for this commission, and just like as he said, like sitting with you is just like so comforting. It's like you're just a great person, yeah. And thank you so much.
Wow, that's because I have daughters.
All right.
They rule the roost.
Roy, thank you on behalf of everybody for all the many dedicated years of service on throughout all your commission work. Yeah, you've always just been a comforting. You see Roy, the meeting's going to start, but it's all going to be good. And we're going to get out like at around 7:30. But I got to sit next to you at this year's the appreciation dinner. And it was so interesting getting to hear more of your backstory and get to learn more about the person that you are. And I wish that you weren't leaving, because I would love to have more time to do that. So
Thank you
for everything.
You guys will do very fine without me. Maybe better.
No, not possible.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just add that I think your years in state parks has brought a perspective and a knowledge that has been invaluable to all of us here. And very sad to see you go, because, whether you call it comforting or whatever, we always know that you have insight that in ways that some of us don't. And so, if there's anything that we forget to ask, we always know that you're going to have things covered, because you come with a knowledge base that is kind of rare, I think, for a lot of people coming into commissions. So it's been invaluable, and we are going to really miss you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll open this one to public comment. And seeing none, we will close this item. So next on the agenda, item 6.4. This is the Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Year in Review. Once again, Jill Geller.
This will be it for me tonight, but I am Jill Geller, your Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Director. It's hard to believe that we're nearing year end already, but we are. And so much of this will be a repeat of things that you've heard, but I love to finish out December with just kind of a year in review and highlighting all the many things that we accomplished this year. So I'm happy to say that for the most part, we were able to operate this year with COVID behind us. Facilities were open, programs and events were held, and people participated like never before. However, many impacts of COVID still do linger. We've continued to have supply chain challenges, as we talked about, as well as part-time staffing challenges. Some COVID outbreaks have left us short-staffed on occasion, to the point that we had to cancel programs occasionally. Virtual meetings continue to be a preference, both for our staff meetings, and we continue to have many public meetings held virtually. And remote work continues to be an accepted practice, and actually in many ways makes us more efficient in some aspects. So we're still dealing with COVID in some regards, but for the most part, we're happy to say we operated in a post-COVID world this year. We completed several major projects in 2022, and those are listed on this slide. We did a couple of playground replacements at Misty Wood and Buljon Parks. We replaced the rack slide at Roseville Aquatics Complex and the play pool there. At Mahaney Patio, new shade structures were installed. A new shade structure was put over one of the sets of bleachers at the Mahaney all-weather field, so now there are shade structures over both sets of bleachers there. The Mahaney tennis courts had a major renovation, complete overhaul, and they are fantastic now. You know about the new soccer turf that we put at the Maidu Soccer Complex. Soccer arena improvements at Maidu as well, and we will very soon be opening N57 Dog Park, which you approved a name for that will go to the commission later this month, of Apollo Park. And speaking of major projects, here is our majorest project of them all. Right now, we're still calling it the Sports Complex. It has not been formally named. And you can see the many processes we completed in 2022 to get us to the point where we are today with this project that included lots of public outreach, developing an operating pro forma to show us how we'll manage and operate this complex, the complex design, which has been major, and then finally, the commission and council approval of the project. As you've heard, this is the largest project that our department has ever undertaken, and it's going to be spectacular. So we look forward to breaking ground in the spring of '23 and opening the complex in 2025. For those of you who have been on the commission for a few years, you've seen lots of park openings under your watch, and we were happy to dedicate 2 more parks this year. North Hayden Park was dedicated in June, and Kei Sakamoto Park was dedicated in August, bringing our total number of parks in Roseville to 81. 81. Want to talk about volunteers for just a moment. We're so appreciative of our volunteers, and already this year they've provided more than 6,000 hours of service to our department. These volunteers come from a variety of sources, including our residents, who serve as park ambassadors and help with many of our park cleanups or park refreshes. And they also serve as coaches and volunteers in our programs and events. And several groups support us as volunteers as well, including Boy Scouts, Key Club, Girl Scouts, church groups, the Dry Creek Conservancy, and the Roseville Urban Forest Foundation. National data shows the value of a volunteer is $29.95 per hour. That's the value of a volunteer hour. So that means the value of our much appreciated volunteers this year has totaled over $185,000 worth of services to our department. We had a few events this year. The list is long. You can see them on your screen. And last month, you got the opportunity to hear from a couple of the staff that worked so hard on those events, and I'm glad that you did. Our events welcome more than 50,000 attendees each year. So I won't go through all of the events on the slide, but there are 27 of them listed here, and many of these take place on multiple nights, such as Friday Flicks, Wind Down Wednesday, Neighborhood Santa. So you can see that our events are very popular, and our event staff are a very busy group. We continued and completed many initiatives this year, including continuing to work to bring brand recognition to our PRL brand. Experience PRL Magazine and the What's Happening in PRL monthly video series have certainly helped us in this effort. We implemented Active Network, which is our program registration software, in 2021. But we've continued to add modules this year, including ticketing. So if any of you went to Comedy Night or North Pole Tavern, you bought your tickets through a new module on Active Network. Be Well Roseville continues to be popular and encourages our residents to stay healthy by being cognizant of their physical exercise, good nutrition, and mind-body renewal. We co-brand many of our health and wellness initiatives with Be Well Roseville as a reminder to do those types of activities that are good for your health. If any of you participated in Turkey Trot a couple weeks ago, you probably saw the Be Well Roseville on the back of the Turkey Trot race t-shirts. And one of our biggest projects that we started last year and completed this year, again, was the department's first strategic master plan in over 25 years, which was a huge undertaking. Thank you so much for your support. You provided input into the plan. You provided your approval of the plan in August of this year. And you can see on this slide the many steps that we took to get to the plan's development, which included, again, a lot of community engagement, a market analysis, park and facility assessments, a program and organizational review, financial analysis, and finally our strategic action plan. And we look forward to implementing this plan over the next 10 years. And we continue the important work that we do each day. This includes maintaining our 81 parks, more than 300 acres of streetscapes, and nearly 4,000 acres of open space, and caring for approximately 55,000 city-owned trees. In our commitment to protecting our environment and providing a safe and healthy community, our staff cleaned up approximately 360 unsheltered camps so far this year. And in addition to that, our everyday work included serving 500,000 plus participants in our programs and events, hosting more than 1,000 rounds at our golf courses, checking out more than 1 million library materials, serving more than 1,300 children in adventure clubs and preschools, providing swim lessons to approximately 7,500 children and adults, and welcoming more than 1 million people in our doors of our museums, libraries, and recreation facilities. In closing, I wanted to share that PRL has felt very honored this year to receive lots of recognitions and awards. You can see on this slide what we received awards for and who awarded those, but our award recipients were Harry Crabb Park, our National Park and Recreation Month videos, our Parks Recruitment videos, 2 awards for the What's Happening in Roseville or in Parks Rec and Libraries video series, and several awards for our Experience PRL magazine. And with all those recognitions, it's easy to forget that we were also chosen as one of 4 finalists for the National Gold Medal. This is due to our hardworking staff, our supportive commission and council, and our engaged residents who love our parks, facilities, and programs. You all help us achieve our mission of enhancing lives and the community by providing exceptional experiences. So please accept our sincere thanks from the entire PRL team for your continued support. And that concludes our year in review. I'll stand for any questions you might have.
All right, open up to questions or comments from the commissioners.
Yeah, I have a quick question. You did mention the big soccer field hasn't been named yet. In our last meeting, we obviously talked a lot about that. I did too. Did it go to the city council, and city council pass on it, or?
No, it has not gone to council
Okay.
yet. Their second meeting in November was canceled due to a lack of quorum, and so they'll be meeting this week, but it is a very full agenda, so it's on the December 21st council agenda.
Got it.
Got it.
Oh, you're thinking Superfund Park.
Anyone else?
You'll never live that down.
Yeah.
No. All right, I'll just say, looking at the numbers on that, I know you guys have, there's a lot of staff that feeds into that, but huge numbers of things that you guys manage and manage to get done every year. So kudos. It always amazes me, the volume of activities that you guys plan and execute in any given year. So we are very fortunate.
Very hardworking staff.
All right, we will open this. If there's no other commissioner comments, we will open up for the public comment. And seeing none, close public comment. And then we will move on to agenda item 6.5, Open Space and Urban Forestry 2022 projects, presented by Eric Dexter.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Eric Dexter. I'm the Park Recreation and Library Superintendent that oversees open space, urban forestry in our district areas within the city. I have a team that oversee 14 full-time employees and 13 part-time employees. And tonight, obviously, I'm going to share kind of some cool projects we've done this last year. So our first project, some of you may have heard about. It was a Veterans North Park tree planting project. And for those of you that aren't really familiar with Veterans North Park, that park was developed years ago in a tribute to the men and women who have served in the United States and Allied Armed Services for our country. And there's several locations within the park that have dedicated things. Some of it's trees. There's also bricks that people can purchase, and there's also two styles of bricks. There's ones that are around the turf that are just for anyone, and there's other ones for folks that have been killed in action that are by the flagpole at the park. So these are the trees, and these things are named after folks that want to have their family members shown in those locations. Over the years, these trees that were located at the park had struggled with disease and several issues related to some of the species that were at the park with recycled water we have there, and there was a variety of issues. And so the idea came up to maybe look at an opportunity to make some changes at the park. And so as we were looking at that, we decided that maybe this is an opportunity to remove some of the turf, improve the irrigation, plant a different species that may be more adaptable to the environment and the recycled water, because we found that over years certain trees do better with that water. And also an opportunity to add capacity, because we were getting close to capacity for the trees that were currently there, so an opportunity to add more so that people could dedicate additional service members. So in the picture there, you can kind of see it before and after. Yes, there's no trees in the one on the left. I took the picture too late, so it's just the turf. The trees had already been removed that were previously there, but on the right, you can see that there's the new trees that were planted there. This project was really a team approach. So it was our parks team and our urban forestry team, and we partnered together to do that. The irrigation team kind of took on the renovation of the irrigation to water the new trees, and then the urban forestry team kind of did the rest of the work in a team effort. The next slide, you can see this is kind of our staff putting in the work to plant the trees. So we ended up doing 52 trident maples at the site. 25 of them were just replacement trees that were previously there, and then 27 were additional trees. So at the site we have a plaque there that shows the names of the folks the trees are named after, and now this gives us the ability to add more trees in the future. let's see, and then another thing to speak to is, as you saw in that previous picture of the bark, we ended up doing over 200 yards of bark as part of this project, as well as the irrigation conversion. The next project I'd like to talk about is the Dry Creek invasive plant removal project. So those of you that are familiar with Dry Creek, we kind of focused on the area starting at Fire Station 1 all the way down to Sogstead Park. And we looked at it as an opportunity to remove some invasives in there, show the impact of invasive removals, and because it was starting to become a challenge in that particular area. So you can see kind of this is the picture from the bridge. It's just a picture of some of the plant material that's along the creekway there. And in the next picture, you can see this is our staff starting to do some of the work, right? You can see there's some different invasives in there. There's some catalpas, there's some trees of heaven that are starting to grow within that creekway. And so we had to start removing those. As you can see in the next picture, you can see where the plants have been removed. You can see there's quite a bit of difference. And then we went in, after we removed the plants, we also treated them, so hopefully we reduce regrowth. Here's a few more before and after, and you can kind of see on the left that there's some invasives that are kind of popping up there, and you can see we removed some of it. But once again, you can see we didn't remove all the vegetation, right? Our plan was not to just be no plant material at all. It was right. We wanted to selectively remove plants and the vegetation along the creekway to also reduce we don't want to take out too much because it could potentially cause erosion issues. So we want to leave enough plant material to keep the creek banks in good conditions. The project outcome, I like this picture because you can see our crew working not just along the creekway, but actually in the creek. So that's where we did some tree removals that they had to fail, and they had to go into the creekway. So we had to remove large invasive trees, plants, hundreds of invasives along that way. And this isn't a one-time project. It's not like we just go in there, do it, and we're good forever. In future years, we're planning on returning and removing new invasives, any regrowth that comes through, and really loses an opportunity for the public to be able to see into that creekway as they're going along the trailway, or they're enjoying Royer Park or something, or even just walking over the bridges to be able to just see in there a little nicer. And so it turned out pretty good. So the next project is along Kirby Creek, tree removals. And this particular removals, there was 4 massive trees that were blocking the creek. And they were, if you're familiar with Kirby Creek, this particular area was near Eastwood Park, kind of on the back side of Eastwood Park. There's where Kirby Creek was there. And our staff was doing some inspections and noticed these trees. And so these were pretty large trees. So we said, hey, let's look at, an opportunity for our city staff, if we could do it, but also kind of a comparison of a contractor. We work with a tree contractor called WCA West Coast Arborist, and so we asked them for a quote just to see what that would anticipate. And then after talking with our internal team, our team said, let's take on that challenge. We want to try and remove these, show what we can do, right? So we're like, okay, let's try it. So here, the outcome ended up being, it took us, our team, about 3 days, our city team, and it was once again, another partnership. So it was the urban forestry team, the streets department, and our open space crews all went in there at once and removed these 4 large trees. When we did the cost comparison, it ended up saving the city over $30,000 plus to do it with our internal crew, versus having the contractor do it. So that was pretty cool. Our team was pretty pumped about that. So we had to throw a pizza party, of course, to just like, hey, that was awesome. All right, you saved a bunch of money. The next project I want to talk about is the Lower Vernon Unsheltered Camp removal. So on the future slides, I'll talk more about the unsheltered program as a whole, but this was a specific project where PD was getting increased issues with this particular area. And so Lower Vernon is, if you go down Vernon Street all the way where it kind of turns, there's a bridge, and the Union Pacific yard is kind of there. That's where we're talking. This is the location we're talking about, and we call it Lower Vernon. And it had built up over years, and it's partly city property, it's partly Union Pacific property, and so it's sometimes a challenge for our enforcement of those locations. But in this particular one, we said, hey, we're going to go in there, we're going to work with Union Pacific, we're going to go in there with our internal team and work through this. So in about a week, we removed 17 camps, 17 tons of debris, and we spent 360 staff hours. And to give you an idea of what tonnage that looks like, 17 tons is about 18 and a half 1970 Volvo bugs. Volkswagen bugs. So 18 and a half of those removed out of that location. The next one is talking kind of our general unsheltered effort as a whole. This picture was just taken actually last week. So this was an active camp recently. Our team goes in there routinely and clean these on a minimum weekly basis, sometimes more. Over this last year, the beginning of January, we were able to hire, based on support from City Council, to hire an internal team that deals with the unsheltered camp throughout the city. And we found that to be a success. In the years past, we did a combination of some internal work with our team, but also a contract partner that we used. And we decided to take a different approach this year, and it's paid off. We've seen some great results, and on the next slide, I'll show you some of the numbers. So you can see this last, so just to look at this picture, this was the same location as the previous slide. So that's what it looks like after it's cleaned up. Looks pretty good. That's the camp, and that's literally the same day after we cleaned it. So you can see that's what it should look like, right? So you can see the impact our team makes on a regular basis. I have 359 camps cleaned. Jill had 360, so maybe she might have cleaned one on the way over. I don't know. Thanks. Let me know the tonnage so I can capture that. So we had 359 camps cleaned this year, 137 tons so far. We have a few, another 3 weeks or so in the year, but that's where we're at currently. You can see the previous year we had 143 camps and 187 tons. Now, that looks like we did a lot more tonnage, but what the story really is because our internal team is able to approach these more frequently, we're actually not allowing the camps to build up as large. So we're actually cleaning them more frequently, if you want to say. So the tonnage isn't as large, but we're able to get to them quicker, and we really developed a good partnership with our police department and working through these and doing them in a way where we're following the rules and making sure we're giving notifications and working with the people that are using these locations and doing it the right way. And we've had some success in terms of keeping those areas clean, and that's what we want, to keep these natural areas as clean as possible, because they do have impacts on the environment. Going back to the Volkswagen bug, just if you're curious, we removed 151 and a half bugs overall in the open space. The next one is the Christmas tree. That's a popular one. You guys can go out and see it after the meeting if you didn't get a chance to look at it on the way in. So our team, our urban forestry team, installed this just recently. Some fun facts about the tree. It's a 40-foot tall Christmas tree. It's actually one of the tallest ones we've had. It's a white fir from Burney Mountains near Reading. It's estimated to be about 27 years old and weighs roughly 3,200 pounds. It grows in a natural timber stand of about 5,500 elevation. And the tree also has a temporary irrigation system, not that we always need it, but if we need it, they can water it, so it keeps the moisture in the tree. So that's our team in the picture, just finishing installing it. And the next slide I'd like to talk about is Jill talked about volunteer projects. We do a lot of volunteer projects in the open space and the urban forest. This past year, I'm not going to go into the numbers of how many volunteers we had because Jill shared that, but we did spread 470 yards of natural mulch in our parks and our oak mitigation sites this last year. We planted 20 plus new trees in parks. And with volunteers, we removed several tons of debris in open space. So there were some different volunteer events where people came in and just helped do creek cleanups and removed several tons of debris just doing that. So for 2023 and beyond, I wanted to kind of share some things we're going to be doing. Some of this we do, but we're going to be doing more of. And just want to share some of those things. So encroachments is a thing that we continue to manage in our open space areas. And if you're not familiar with what we call an encroachment, it's where residents have either expanded their yard or they've dumped debris or somehow modified the natural area that maybe backs up to their house or is next to their house. We don't want that, right? So we look to continue to address those through notifications, through working with the people that live in there to inform them of what the rules are with the city, and try to work through that. Another one is oak mitigation. That's something to continue to effort. This next year, we're looking to do some future sites at Maidu Park, kind of by the Maidu Museum on the backside of the park. And we're going to do an open space area near Dugan Park. And we're looking at both those sites to plant between 200 and 400 trees. We haven't got the final number yet. And that's going to take place in the first part of next year. So probably January, February to April, we'll have several events working with the Roseville Urban Forest Foundation to do that. I don't have the dates right with me, but as I get those, we can share those with you if you want to volunteer to attend one of those. And another interesting thing we're doing related to oak mitigation is our team actually went through and collected a bunch of acorns this last year from various oak trees throughout our natural areas, and we kind of created a little greenhouse in our corporation yard, and we're going to try to see if we can get 3,000 oak trees to kind of grow up, and we can kind of have our own little farm instead of having to go somewhere. We're going to have our own little tree farm at the corp yard, and so then we can plant those out back in the open space. So it's kind of something we haven't done before, but we thought it'd be interesting and give it a good effort. Another thing that we're looking to do in the future is look at opportunities to use more of our natural trails within our open space, and to let the community enjoy those. Some of them are ones that people are already using today, but maybe they're not marked, or they're not in our GIS system, or they're not labeled. So we're looking at opportunities to maybe put some signage or kind of make them more native trails, but open and shared more with the community. Invasives. Sorry, I have a few more. Invasives are plants that are that I talked about a little bit earlier, but just a little bit more about invasives. If I didn't explain it earlier, is they're really plants that are non-native to our system, to our area, and they can cause environmental harm or even human health. So there's certain plants that could be harmful to us, and so we try to focus on removing them and getting rid of them, because they'll populate very quickly. They'll get in the creekway, they'll go down, they'll repopulate further down, and so we're going to try to continue to be on top of those ones. Our creek management is something we continue to look towards, and removing the blockages within the creek, increasing areas growing within the creek, and that affects the riparian areas around the creek and the flow, to reduce any kind of flooding, and also allow for habitat to live there. And then the last one is really educational, looking for increased opportunities to add signage along our multi-use trails, our natural areas and our open space areas related to habitat, trees, vernal pools, and animals. We do have some out there currently, but we want to expand that to allow other folks to, maybe they see that sign and they get excited about some of our open space or our trees or native areas within our preserves and our open space. So those are the things I wanted to share with you guys tonight. You got any questions for me?
All right, open it up for commissioning.
For as long as I've been in this area, I think the camp problem has been an ongoing, continuous problem that seems will never go away. Homeless move from one spot to the next, to the next, to the next. And they do some damage. On the other hand, we seem to have more of these people since the pandemic, and a lot of people lost their jobs. So on the one hand, I feel very sorry for a lot of these people that have found themselves in these positions. On the other hand, I say you're doing a good job of cleaning up after them to try to make things better. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm kind of curious too of the debris that you're cleaning up each time. Is any of that hazardous or dangerous to staff? I know that around here we have with our porter that was cleaning up the downtown for the Downtown Roseville Partnership, there was a needle
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's carrying on to these camps as well.
It does, and we do train our staff. They go through extensive training, and we provide them personal protective equipment with special thickness of gloves and gear that they wear and special boots and all this stuff so that they're protected when they are out in those areas, because there is all kinds of hazardous material. There's propane tanks. There's a variety of things at each site. There's a whole lot of unique things at each location. So yeah, we definitely are aware of that. We typically have to separate that when we do the cleanups from the other just typical trash or debris. But yeah, we definitely have to be aware of that, and our crew is familiar and tries to address that in as safe a manner as you can.
And I guess in addition to that, the creeks, if there's a camp near a creek, you're cleaning up that immediate site that you see, but there's stuff that's washing down the creek. So it might flow to another county or at that point,
Yeah.
but do you work with nearby areas to see what the residual debris flow is going to?
No, currently we don't work with any other groups or any other agencies to do that, but we do try and get that ahead of time as best we can to not prevent that. But a lot of times it actually gets caught within our creek system, so it may flow a ways, but then it'll get caught in a tree branch or some other stuff. So we ended up cleaning it up later at some point, But we try to get it as best we can ahead before that does occur. But during this time of year, for sure, you can get water rise and it'll wash down the creekway. So we want to try and prevent that, because that's part of that environmental impact that I talked about.
Yep.
Not looking for a super amount of detail. I was just curious what the process on, back to the encampments on, you were talking about doing it the right way or notifications. What goes into that?
So we work with our police department, and what we do is when we do identify a camp or a camp is identified, the police department is that first point, right? So they go out, they find the location that's been identified, they notify the people that are at that location. They have to have a minimum of 48-hour notice before we can remove anything. So typically, if there are sites that are for whatever reason there are a high priority site location, we'll meet with the police department on Tuesday. They've identified those locations. We'll make sure that people get the notification, and then typically, like on a Thursday, we'll go and clean those sites. Sometimes they may get longer notifications depending on the site, but at minimum it has to be 48 hours. So, but like going back to that project we did with on Lower Vernon, because it was a large site and there were so many people there, that actually was like 2-3 months in the making to try and, because our police department does the effort to outreach these folks to make sure they can offer them services, a variety of services, even hotels and different things to help them along the way. Not everybody wants that help, but they do a good job of trying to, the social services unit does a good job of trying to work with these folks and try and get help for the ones that do need it. And so that's what I meant by kind of trying to do it the best way we can. I mean, there's no, it's a challenging situation, but it's the best thing we can do.
No, great. Thank you. That answered the question. I think great job.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
I was just curious, on these camps, do they ever come back? Do you have to go back to camps like multiple times?
Certain locations are we do have to go to those sites. It may not be the same person. It may be a different person.
Different groups.
Yeah, different groups. So that's just the nature. Some people do turn things around. Some people don't. But that's the challenging part sometimes, because you're going back to the same location that you maybe cleaned a month ago or something. So, but that's part of what we do to make sure we keep those areas clean.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I just wanted to say that I just wanted to thank you guys, because you guys are the reason that we have all these beautiful trails and creeks and everything like that. So thank you so much for all your service and work.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? If not, we'll open up for public comment. And doesn't look like we will have any tonight, so we will close public comment on this item. And move to agenda item 6.6. This will be an update on the Solaire Park WB50 by Tara G.
Good evening, Tara G, or Parks Recreation, no, what am I?
She forgot her new title.
Park Planning and Development Manager. Tonight is an information-only item, but we felt it was very important to update the commission on the status of this park. In March of 2021, the master plan for Solaire Park, which is an 8-acre park located next to Westbrook Elementary School on Solaire Drive, was approved. The features that were approved include a off-street parking lot, a children's play area, a group fitness pod, game tables, as well as a baseball field, a restroom, and a loop trail system. Since then, we have hired a contractor. We are approaching this project as a design assist project, which is very different than a design build where you choose the lowest bid. In this case, we hired the contractor to help us midway through the project to identify budget savings and costs. And so our budget was $2.1 million, or not was, is $2.1 million. And the initial estimated budget came out to be 3.7, which left us with a shortfall of $1.6 million. The way park fees are, they're collected, and Westbrook is very much built out, almost built out. So there are no additional funds to be collected, and if there are, it certainly is not $1.6 million worth. In addition to that, we have one more park to be built, which is next to the open space. So we have to be cognizant of what our future funding capacities are too. Now, why are we so different in our park budget versus the reality of the contractor's estimate? And you've heard all through tonight about the challenges, the post-COVID challenges, and that is supply chain issues, which are a result of manufacturing delays, materials availability. There's certainly labor shortages that are being experienced throughout the country and world, actually. Cost of business is just skyrocketing out, and of course you can add gas prices for the cost of delivery. Also impacts our ability to not only order but receive materials. So we've seen quite a bit of escalation in our costs even after a year. So what this does is forces us, just like your checkbook at home, you can only write a check for what's in the bank. And so we had to really look at a revision to this park. Our goal was to keep the features that were priorities based on the workshops and write-in periods that we had conducted when we created the original master plan. But what we did was remove, at least for now, the ball field, the parking lot, and the restroom. Those are high-ticket items. However, those were not the most popular on the workshop when we conducted the workshop. So keeping the picnic area, the children's play area, the games and fitness, and the loop trails was really the most important. So in this graphic here, you'll see all of those in the green or more lush areas surrounded by trees off of Solaire Drive. And the tan area is proposed to have natural trails. If we remember our strategic master plan, that was one thing that we were short on, and Eric just mentioned it as well. And so this will become mostly a natural area, so maybe about 2.5, 3 acres will be developed out of the 8, and the remainder will be more natural with trees and dirt trails, or I'm sorry, nature trails that are shown, depicted in the blue dash. And the stars that are shown, they were part of the original master plan as well. Those are educational panels for the solar system, and those of you who sat on the park naming committee at that time, we felt that since the neighborhood was, street names were Solaire and Solar Point, that a solar system education panel next to an elementary school seemed very appropriate. So we were able to keep all of that and bring this all down to budget. One of the cool things that we added, if TD, if you would push that button there, and one more time, in those circled areas, we're proposing nature play areas. We do not have any of those within the city of Roseville at this point. The nature play areas on the next slide are shown as natural areas. We can work with our urban forestry group as well as our open space group to really create, collect and create natural play elements that will enhance that natural feel of the park that's now being created. But you'll also see that we've reserved space in case we do have monies or find a grant or something that we can add back in the ball field, which then would trigger a restroom as well as parking lot. So we haven't given up on that. We just would hope that, at least for the first phase, to be able to build a park that is immediately enjoyed by the neighborhood. And we'll continue to see how funding goes, if there's additional funding opportunities that could lend itself to a future phase of the park. So the next steps here, we're going to seek additional savings. We have informed the neighborhood on November 29th, one of those virtual workshops that Jill mentioned. We held that to inform the neighbors about the proposed changes. And I would say not necessarily changes again, but what the first phase could include. We are here to inform yourselves as commission, and we will be informing council after this. And then we're still looking at breaking ground in late spring or early summer of '23. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Again, this is an information-only item, and since I did want to mention one more time that since we are putting the same elements that were approved in the master plan and not really taking anything out except for maybe reserving for future opportunities, the master plan is still, or the changes or the improvements are still consistent with the master plan. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the commission for any questions or comments.
All right, we'll open for commissioner comments or questions.
Will there be a porta potty possibly? Or I'm just trying to think, taking kids to a park? No.
Yes, and we'll talk about our philosophy on restrooms in February, I think, when I come back. But basically, this is a neighborhood park, and so it's designed for an hour stay and play within a half mile from your home. And so restrooms are quite expensive, and so the choice is in a place like this is you either put a restroom in at $200,000, $250,000, or you don't and save that money and put it into a playground or a swing area. So with the limitations that, you think $2.1 million is a lot of money, it goes really fast in today's pricing market. We will, if we do put in a ball field, here's the difference. If we put in a ball field, it expands that stay and play value. So 2.5, 3 hours for a game or several games, that does trigger a restroom.
I was just kind of comparing it to my kids. We spent a lot of time at Diamond Oaks Park, and there was a porta potty. There's no actual bathrooms.
Right.
And we utilized, as much as we didn't like the porta potties, we utilized that porta potty for practices.
Yeah.
When they had practices, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are the chances of finding that money so you can trigger the ball field and then trigger the restroom?
I think we rely on grants to do that. And as you know, Roseville is not as successful in receiving grants because a lot of the grants are for underserved communities, and Roseville is, Roseville's a solid community.
Those are tough.
Yeah.
So if I could ask, just kind of comparing the two plans, the original plan, the parking was off of Solaire, and I know the plans are kind of turned 90 degrees from one another, but I'm assuming the area kind of at the top of the new plan on the north, along Solaire Drive, where it is showing play area wood fiber or actually, it might be mulch only. Actually, I think that's the mulch only. Would be where the parking lot would go if it happened.
If you, yes, well, it's a little bit where that First Nature play area is, to the north of that. So you have a little bit of green space, and you have a little bit of gray space there. If you look really carefully at the right, there's a little rectangle there that connects up to the property line. Thank you, TD. That is a driveway that connects to the school parking lot.
Oh,
So
okay.
in the future, it may not be really long, but it might be more square.
Okay.
So that we can get parking in should we need that. And that would, again, be triggered by a ball field. Right now, you can park on the street.
So essentially, it would pull off of that existing drive aisle and head west until you kind of hit whatever obstacle in terms of things that you didn't want to change. Okay.
Correct.
And then where would the restroom be located? Do you guys have a planned location for that if it happens?
Well, right now, we don't.
Okay.
Well, we do based on the approved master plan.
Right.
So what we're looking at installing is sewer past the green space there, and we can connect it up when we locate, if we have the money and when we locate it based on the ball field.
Okay. So you've essentially made the infrastructure plans, so you know where things could happen in the future.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I remember in leadership, you put us through an exercise to try to, I think you gave us here's a park to plan, and then you said, okay, well, here's your budget afterwards, and we had to go through and remove bathroom, I think was one of the big ones.
Yes. A memorable exercise, right?
Yes. I like the nature play area idea. I think it's, what is it, Caseburg, there's like a bunch of rocks there that the kids
Yes.
are always playing on, that type of thing. Is there any, the liability and stuff, is there anything changed when you try to formalize that a little bit, or?
No, I think what we look at is just the spacing and the playability of it. The children, when we were kids, we
Right.
play on a, cardboard box and throw ourselves down the hill, and we were okay. But, we'll look at all of that. Certainly, there are some guidelines that we'll need to be cognizant of, but it's not as formal as the formal play area, which is still included as well. There's a lot more guidelines with regards to that than a nature place area.
No, I like that idea. That's, that was good.
Yeah. And the trails, I think that'll be a really nice addition. There are pieces of this that are actually a really nice kind of, silver lining, as it were, to the changes.
It was interesting because the meeting that we had in November 29th, we had about 20 people attending, and they were all very understanding and all very supportive of the direction we were going.
All right. Any other comments?
I just wanted to say that it's actually very cool. These nature parks would be a really cool idea, and I almost think that we do have a lot of ballparks in Roseville, but this is something that we don't have. So being able to have something that's different and unique, I feel like is much cooler, even with staying on budget. So I think will be a really good park. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? If not, we will open up for public comment on this item. And seeing that there are no other people in the audience here, we'll close public comment. And that, I believe, takes care of, most of the business items. We are on to agenda item 7, which is board member, commissioner, staff reports. Is there any staff reports?
No additional staff report, except for to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thank you so much for all of your service this year. Maitin, do you have anything?
Right. Anything on our end?
Thanks for the mugs.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Yep.
I just want to say I got to do the tree grove judging with
yeah.
Sandra and Tanvi and thoroughly enjoyed it and enjoyed getting to know them a little bit better and look forward to hopefully more.
Yeah. And encourage everybody who hasn't been down there who might be listening, to make your way down to the Civic Plaza, their Civic Center Plaza, and see all the trees. And the gingerbread houses in the lobby of the city center as well. Yep, Civic Center.
You know, I do have something. I was at the tree lighting, talking to Jill there, and I asked her, who puts this entire event on? And she said, her Parks Department. So her Parks Department needs a round of applause for an amazing event that night and the tree lighting. It was a lot of fun. And I'm amazed at the number of residents who go down and crowd into that public square and have a good time. That community involvement is off the charts. It's fun.
Yep.
Nice going.
Well, I again have to sing the praises to staff because I was like a kid at Disneyland there that night because I was just enjoying it like everyone else. Staff had been working so hard and we're still working hard, but we did the countdown, the tree lit up, the fireworks go off, it starts snowing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is magical. I mean, it was just such a wonderful night. So yes, kudos to staff.
And I think on the tavern on Friday, that was all new staff that was planning all those activities. It wasn't the same ones I'd worked with in the previous year. So
Right.
And they did a great job. So that was a cold night, though. I don't know if the other 2 nights were as cold, but that one got chilly.
And I'll just want to wish everybody a happy holiday. I feel like we were just at our December meeting last year, like yesterday, but what a fast year, and what your department is, from what we were last year, post-pandemic, going into this year, you guys totally outdid yourselves, and then I can't even imagine what next year is going to be because now that we're really out of that, the worst of it, I'm excited. So, and I hope you guys enjoy a break.
All right. So that brings up agenda item 8. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I get to do that.
Yes.
Move we adjourn.
So we have a motion to adjourn, and we have a second?
Have a motion.
I think Tanvi should second as her last.
Yeah, second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Oh, no. Was that? Oh, yeah. Any opposed? No? All righty.
Well,
Thank
maybe.
you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you all so
You all.
much.
Thank you.
Okay.